Hello and welcome to the Black Crow podcast. Today we have Dog Cam, because we thought that might be better than looking at my stupid face. And then we have got the wonderful Sam. Say hi, Sam.
Ew. We might get cat cam later if he comes over.
We
But
might get cat cam. Yeah,
we'll
we were
see.
discussing our adorable pets, and I was like, "Well, Ice has just had a clean, so he's gonna get some time in the sun, especially as he's gonna be at the Hive City GT, being the official head ref, which is a cute little touch that the venue very kindly allowed. But anyway, that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about UKTC and playing tournaments. So, Sam, do you want to kick us off? Do you want to tell us a little bit about it?
So, I mean, not everyone, I guess, knows exactly what UKTC is. Just in case, we've got a viewer from across the pond or somewhere in Europe that's not familiar. The UKTC is the big tournament circuit in the UK. Funny how that literally UKTC. And they, some of the biggest events in the world, definitely the biggest events in the UK. I mean, LGT is their big headliner, and that is, I mean, last year was 750 people just playing 40k, but there was more. There was like 4 or 5 different events going on in the same room as well. Huge event, absolutely amazing to go to, and experience. So I think every 40k tournament player should go and experience, and non-tournament players. Like if you I've seen people, I think last year I had multiple games against people where it was their first tournament and they just went to the biggest one that is possible without going all the way over to Vegas. So it's pretty cool. They have ones every month, and they're usually basically the biggest one that month across sometimes the world, sometimes just the UK. But yeah, America's got some big ones. So
Yeah, so it's always worth mentioning that they have their own ranking system, which is the UKTC, which isn't just their tournaments. You can, if you're a tournament organizer, apply for a token so that you can take a part in that fun as well. And I think it's also very worth saying that if you look at the top ranked ITC players, for the most part, all of those players are regular attendees at UKTC tournaments. So you're always going to have, if you are getting wins and things like that, you are going to run into some very talented players. Your Vic VJs, your Josh Roberts, your Manu Chimas. More on the lovely Manu Chima later. So all those names that you can go and watch at the WTC tomorrow over in Belgium. At least I think it starts tomorrow. I know Manny's going over there tomorrow, but yeah. So the WTC in Belgium, you'll be able to watch them. You'll be able to play with them at the UKTC, and I think both Sam and I can attest that they're also all really lovely guys. So it's well worth going up and saying a hello to them, or saying hello to us. We are also at lots of the. Especially us, obviously. Usually we're nice and easy to spot because we're wearing crow tops. I know I'm not tonight. It's because I'm smelly, so that was why I didn't want to sully my crow top before I wear it again this weekend. So UKTC, it's interesting, this one, because I think we've just gone through a period of flux, and there's 2 rather large and major tournaments coming up. So that is Leeds, and then, as Sam mentioned, the LGT is coming up in September. So very quickly coming around. So we thought we'd just have a little chat about what our interpretation of the mission pack is. Give it a little talk about what you can expect if you go to a UKTC event, and to be honest, it's probably going to be a bit of we're going to try and convince you to go to UKTC events because they are a lot of fun. They've got some really great guys working for them, and it's a really good opportunity to sort of go and spend a lot of time together. But we'll also say the bits that you just need to be aware of, just so that you can hopefully get the best experience possible out of your UKTC time. But obviously, we're going to talk mostly about the Warhammer. So, Sam, have we got round 1 ready and eager? Oh my goodness!
seamless.
Absolutely seamless. Look at round 1.
Hopefully, should be able to see my mouse on there. now. There we are. So we can point at things. I mean, it's not ideal. It's decided that I can write text somehow, but I should be able to. We can point at things if we want to. Gesture.
All right. We can gesture. Please just write gesture on random bits that we're going to
No,
point
I
at.
don't think it actually lets me write. No, it doesn't. No.
Oh, well, that's boring. Anyway,
yeah.
so as you can see at the top of the screen, this is Terraform Swift Action, and it is sweeping engagement. So it's the stepped Dawn of War deployment, and this. So the big new thing, well, two big new things that I found with UKTC is these little. Well, they're actually little strips of paper.
Well, they might not be by leads. To be fair, they might have done. I don't know.
Well,
they might change it up. That might have just been the first one.
They might do. It was paper with like two little bits of ruin on there.
Yeah, the little bits of ruin would definitely be there.
Oh yeah, no, I mean
Yeah.
equally as much as I'm sort of being like, oh, it's a little bit of paper. It was actually pretty decent. And there was kind of no issues. It's nice to be able to move around easily with that particular piece of terrain, but good to have two line of sight blocking bits. But the other major change is actually with the small L's. So usually they were positioned in different areas, but in a lot of the UKTC maps, they are now in that kind of blocky, very supportive to your deployment kind of positioning. And that for me, and I think Sam will agree, is absolutely huge for combat armies in terms of their staging.
Yeah, I mean this mission. I mean, just looking at it, like we've got like these bits in the middle are obscure. I mean, like just going through like what each thing is, just in case people haven't seen this pack before, or especially these new ones. I mean, these new ones are little small walls on these corners where you can see that it's grey, and then the rest of it's just empty, but obscuring. So if you're behind that small platform, you're obscuring, but it's quite easy to move over. You know, you can probably fit like most vehicles quite easily over this. Monsters and stuff like that can just go straight through it. It's one of those pieces of obscuring terrain that doesn't really block movement, which is really good for melee armies. I mean, obviously, if it's an infantry only melee army, it doesn't really matter. But for those that have big monsters like myself, like Angron, he just runs straight through this. He just doesn't care. Like at worst, he's losing like an inch or something like that, and it's not a big deal. Like these are line of sight blockers, but not really movement blockers. And yeah, having this staging so far up the board, but also covering all of the deployment area is quite a nice touch. But yeah, so small L's, bigger L's, very large L's, and yeah, the newer pieces of terrain.
It's worth mentioning, and I think worth double checking actually on that point, where in previous UKTC event packs, and I'm thinking back to Oxford here, Sam, every ruin was noted in the event pack to be at least 4 inches.
Yes.
So I don't know if that does affect those little ones.
Well, here you can see mostly less than 2 inches of height and rises to 3 inches of height where the two walls meet. So if it's less than 2 inches of height, you can ignore it for movement. And so it's only those bits, those corners that really bother you. So you might even be able to shove a land raider through this as long as it doesn't end ajar on terrain. But yes, you're right that most of them do say as such is over 4. I believe this one is just. I mean, there's no way that is less than 4 when you measure it. It's yeah. So and then this one's quite tall as well.
Yeah, that one's very tall if I remember correctly.
Yeah, that's the one that you knock over with your hand when you're gesturing towards the board.
Yeah, and as also there was a very important bit there that said in terms of feedback as well. Event
yeah.
pack.
So this isn't the final form. If you use our video and then go to the event and go, oh, it's slightly different. This is still in draft. It might change. It might not. But this is what they're at the moment, and I think it's quite interesting. And I don't expect huge sweeping changes. We might see some little ones here or there.
Yeah, I think overall they've kind of nailed what the meta is supporting anyway. Those MSU combat lists. But there is also definitely space for the shooting lists. You know, your triple Rogal Dawn guard armies. So yeah, I think with this mission, what's very interesting to me is the way that is the objective that's meant to be your safe objective can actually be held behind a wall by your opponent. And if they can get like a single model with high OC in that corner, that can be really quite difficult to kind of get around and handle. And I remember when I played on this one, I had a great unclean one, Bellacore, and an all manner of other nasty demons running down that flank at that objective. And then I was like, well, how do I, what do I do now? But luckily, Terraform. And what I did was, because I went first, I nipped out really super quickly, nipped onto all 3 objectives and went, declare Terraform. And at that point, your opponent's got to go, oh, right, I have to divide my resources. I can't go and commit to a single one, which then gives me the scope to then pre-prepare in those staging areas. So you can see the medium L in the bottom right-hand corner. I had some Deathwing Knights waiting in there to be able to countercharge, which they promptly did. And I was actually able to terraform that objective turn 1. I was able to screen it off enough so that my opponent couldn't get round to it in any other different space, and then terraform it with an impulsor rather handily.
You actually start Terraform turn 1?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
I've actually not played Terraform yet.
It's an interesting one.
I think it's a good. Reading the mission, I like it. I think it's quite an interesting because, like you say, but being able to do it turn 1 puts a lot of pressure. I mean, that's I like that as someone that puts a lot of pressure on turn 1. Like, I don't expect my opponent to be doing it turn 1 against me, but I'll be doing it, on my turn 1.
Oh yeah, because then you don't need to hold that object. I think it's a really good mission for World Eaters, because you go, right, okay, my jackals go here, here, and here, and declare terraform. Go on, come clear them out, or I'm going to start scoring 6 a turn on primary and not even have to hold these objectives.
Yeah, I was going to say, and also at the end of the game, like, oh no, I've been wiped out, but I'm still scoring a bunch of points on primary. So there's it sounds relatively favorable in that situation for the pressure armies, which I found, the prior nexus, because of secret missions, that the pressure factions, the ones that want to apply that pressure early and will die out towards the end, struggle a bit more because of just being able to recover points so much easier, with a slam of potentially up to 40 in like the last 2 turns. But yeah, I think this mission, like, I would see this as a good mission for me. It's interesting you referred to like this objective on the right as the safe one for this side, when I would consider it the one on the left because of that terrain. But yeah, it's interesting. There's pretty much all of the No Man's Land's objectives are completely out in the open. When it comes to shooting, other than this one on the left, you will have to be out in the open to hold the objective. But the one that's hidden can quite easily be taken off you. But because of, like you were saying about these staging points, it kind of balances that back. So it's like, well, I can't stand on the objectives because you're going to shoot me off, but you can't stand on those objectives because I'm going to charge you off. And so it actually becomes a bit of a stalemate of like, potentially who steps on the objectives first is at a disadvantage, which is kind of interesting because that, step on the objectives, get the points. Disadvantage though. So it's like, I think it's quite an interesting one. I think Terraform does have to be quite open, because otherwise you can have this issue of people just going first and sitting on them and being safe.
Yeah. We had multiple turn 1 charges. Him charging me.
Yeah. That's what happens when you go first, right?
Yeah.
Unless your world is.
Yes, no, there is that. But literally, and I mean, so just in terms of that safe objective versus the enemy safe objective, the amount of space that you can actually fit behind that wall is so small that maybe if you have like a 2 or 3 OC unit that's small bases, Thinking like guardsmen here, they
yeah,
could actually
even then
Cabalite warriors.
struggling because you'd have to basically be against the wall as well, so it's not like it's safe from aggression there. I feel like it's
Exactly.
very hard if your opponent wants to take, if you want to hide, your opponent can take the objective off you. I don't think there's very much. I mean, maybe we're talking about like a Chaos Knight 8 OC on it or something like that, but even then most armies have a 10 OC unit, right?
Yeah.
So it feels like that's not going to be an objective you can hold from behind that wall, which I think is good. It's nice to be able to go, I can sit on that objective behind that wall, but so you have to come and contest it. But it is very doable to do that. So it's not just like, I can sit here for the whole game and that's my objective. Thank you.
Yeah. No, totally. I think the other thing to mention is in terms of where you're kind of drawn to position around your home objective as well, and the positioning that you want to get so that like all of your models can be in the fight. It does actually open up a little bit of the corner behind your large alpha deep strike. And in fact, when I played on this map, I had my opponent deep strike a 10-man Bloodletter squad and Skull Taker right there. Now that was a little bit of a bait because I had the Lion in reserve, so I was just going to rapid ingress him and then heroic intervene him, which is what I did.
It's a very good combo, by the way, for everyone listening. Rapid ingress, heroic intervene, very nice.
With a fights first unit, yeah,
or just a unit that's so tanky it doesn't care. Like
exactly.
Terminator squad or something, because that's what Corbin did against me the other week.
Interesting. I've not seen him do that. He started them on the board against me, but I guess
I told him he should start again on the board against melee armies.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Because that, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I think overall really good one. Swift action, obviously, if you've got battle line, use them effectively.
Yeah, but Swift action also makes that quick early actions, very, very good getting on that, because not every army can put chaff on those no man's land objectives straight away from their deployment zone. If it's 6-inch movement, you're struggling to get some of those distances, at least putting a decent amount of bodies on. So.
I think the other thing that's worth mentioning with that, I'm so glad we don't have Dog Cam on now. He's licking his balls. So now he's smiling at me. Now he's aggressively smiling, like he's the happiest.
We can get cat cam very briefly.
Cat cam. There's cat cam. Look at the cat cam. Oh, you're like, yes, this is wonderful. Sorry, completely. So yeah, swift action. It does also. It is more likely to get your opponent's battle line into the midboard, which, going back to something that Sam's actually just mentioned, it opens them up to the potential for that secret mission. So if they do get out there early and they do terraform with those battle line units early on, don't panic, because you can then look at the War of Attrition secret mission just to score your 20 on prime, which is very achievable without terraforming, and then you get your other 20 just by going in and slaughtering the battle line that's had to go forward and do those actions. And the likelihood is, because they've gone forward to do those actions, to do that terraform, they've used their chaff units early on, so that they then can't do actions on their secondaries. So they then have to get reasonably lucky on their secondary draws. There's no like free redraw mechanics in this particular mission because it's swift action. So if it does look dire in that kind of situation, don't panic immediately, because there is that option for that secret mission, which can sort of get you back in the game. I'm just watching Sam getting savaged. Yeah, so I think that's definitely worth mentioning. I love this. I love this mission for combat v combat. Really good fun, and you just sort of run at each other, and it's absolutely bloody beautiful. So yeah, this one gets a big thumbs up.
As I say, I think this is like, I can't remember all of the newer missions for UKTC off the top of my head, but this is a very balanced one in my opinion. I think that shooting armies and melee armies, I think it's great for melee armies, but I don't think it's necessarily like, oh, it's so good that I'm favored into whatever I play against, sort of thing. I think it is quite a balanced thing, because also one of the things we haven't pointed out is historically it's very bad to use big vehicles in UKTC because there's a lot of these buildings. I think this mission actually works quite well for land raiders and big things, because I think there's quite a few spots where it's like, you could fit a land raider in here, you could fit a land around this corner, you could fit a land raider through here, and it's not like completely exposed if you have to sit it on that like open area there because of this wall here. So I think there is potentially like some good like open spots to move big vehicles, and potentially from quite safe areas straight out into like the no man's land, and it still not be completely exposed. Like, yes, there's going to be some sight lines, but not like, oh, the entire board can see this sort of thing. So there's some play there, which comparative to some missions previously, it's like, oh, it can't leave the deployment zone. So I think this like tilted L, although that is going to be annoying to like place properly comparative to some of the other terrains. I think it does open up these spaces quite nicely.
Yeah, no, I think that's very fair. Although, speaking of missions where you won't be able to move a land raider, should we go on to mission 2?
Oh, so I really just like see that. Like I said, I couldn't remember, but okay, I see. Actually,
Is that
there's a
mission
spot.
2?
This is mission. So this has changed. Like I say, it's been changing.
Oh,
This
tits. Okay, that's changed. I've not played on
This you can move a land raider out. There is a nice spot here, I think, if assuming it can fit, in between here and here. It might be close
That's
actually.
not
Assuming
going
it
to be
can fit
able
in front
to.
of this. Well, if you
I
think
don't.
the sponsons are in front of this wall, you're probably fine.
Yeah, but then I don't think it's turning and getting.
Well, it just
I
has
mean,
to
I
go
guess
straight this way.
if you can manage to fit it through that 2-inch gap, but I don't
I
think you
think you
can.
can. I think it might
I've.
slow it down slightly, but I think you can ram it straight through.
Not sure.
Or at
It's
least
quite
in there and
tiny.
then ram it through. It wouldn't go straight in one go. But anyway, let's not just talk about land raiders.
Land Raiders are brilliant. We need to just talk about Land Raiders. There are 2 very safe objectives on this map.
Yeah, so Purge the Foe is one of those missions where safe objectives actually is less important. Like, yeah, 2 safe objectives is fine. You need 3. As in, you need to hold 3 anyway to get
It's
the
hold
like
more,
more.
isn't it?
So, like I think if you're ever going to have like very safe objectives, I think Purge the Foe is a good mission for it, because it's just going to be a lot of like it forces engagement into a place. It can't just be like engagement weirdly dotted around. It like forces everyone into the middle, I feel like, which I find quite fun. Definitely not biased. Smoke and Mirrors, I believe that's the one where you just put an extra unit in reserve after deployment, which I think is inconsequential most of the time, because people are like, oh, I'm going to put this on the board just to then put it in reserve.
Like, I get that in terms of if you're baiting your opponent, you're going, oh, where is this unit going, or that kind of thing.
It's a rare case that happens, though.
It is. I mean, like, I get it. So, like, for me, if I'm looking at Deathwing Knights, I might want to put one of the teleport homers in a certain position and then say, oh, they're actually starting on the board. And then, there's ways that I can get a little bit tricksy with it. I think very, very niche cases, as
I
you
say,
say.
the bit that makes it harder is it all happens before you know who goes first. Now, if it would happen after you knew who goes first, it's huge, because it's like it might even be too big of a rule at that point, because it's like, oh, let me set up aggressively with this unit. Oh, I didn't go first. Oh, it's just off the board.
Yeah, no,
like
100%.
But the fact that decision has to be made first makes it, and like, yeah, there will be niche cases where this is a powerful rule, but I think majority of the time it's not going to impact that match at all.
No, I think that's fair, and I do think we've seen a trend where a lot more armies have just all start on the board. I think,
or 1 unit in reserve just to force your opponent to be honest at the back. That's what I usually do. Put 1 unit in reserve to be like, well, at some point they're going to rapid ingress, so watch out.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think that part of me thinks that with Deathwing Knights sometimes. Sorry, I've got some mad idiot going through my village at like 70 miles an hour. That was
Didn't
interesting.
come through the mic.
Yeah, do apologise for that. But yeah, so yes, I think that mission rule can be somewhat relevant. But I think there has been a trend away from putting units in reserve as much. In terms of the map, it feels like a very nice one to hide in. Like, there is a lot of hiding spaces.
This spot right here
Yeah,
massively draws my eye. I can
yeah,
start Angron somewhere safe back here, or start him aggressively if I don't think my opponent can get onto one of those sight lines in a way that matters to me. And then if there's nothing for me to leap across the board turn one to into, then he just sits in that like nice shallow cubby, and genuinely he could charge onto this objective. Like he
yeah.
could, just yeet himself to about here and then charge around that corner. Like I really want to, I hope they don't change this mission. I love seeing this where I have a nice hidey hole that I can leap out of without being slowed down. It is, just perfect for Angron. Interestingly, a lot of GW maps have this sort of thing on them.
Mm.
And I think even WTC might have some as well. Although I think they have more of these like double L situations where you can't really fly
Yeah.
over, through it. You have to go over or around. But yeah, I love seeing these these sort of missions where it's like, oh look, you can't stand on that objective behind the wall. So that objective is completely out in the open. If I want to hold that objective, I will be shot. I cannot hide fully. But I have this super nice spot to like set myself up in to just go across the board. So it's once again that give and take of like objective out in the open, but great staging. And
Yeah,
it's like
no, 100%.
this objective, you can get around it. Like it's not really like that safe from this upper area, but it is quite like open leading up to it. But I do wonder if I can just stage my entire army. Although it's harder to stage if this was the double like smaller L's, I could stage my entire army in that. I can't stage my entire army up to this because if I step into this, I will be seen. I have to step on the other side of it, so it pushes me back a little bit on that part, and then I can just hide a chunk of my army into that 1L, which is one big unit of exalted 8-bound realistically. So I think that's quite a nice balance on that as well.
Yeah, no, I think this. So I've not played this one, but I think it's definitely interesting. I kind of want to play it now,
Yeah,
just to kind of see what it looks like. But yeah, I think that so from a Dark Angels perspective, there's some really great spots that I'm looking at for when my Hellblasters can kind of control the board, but also being protected from certain angles. There's definitely some interesting angles for where I'm going to be positioning my Deathwing Knights and sort of pushing up, having that big turn of advance and charge. Yeah, I think there's some, again, lovely staging, good firing lines, some real nice flexibility on this map. I like it.
I think melee versus melee is also going to be really interesting because I think these staging points are too close. So it's like you won't want to just sit in, and because of the nature of like this wall here, like you actually don't have much of this. Like you can sit an inch away from the wall, and it makes their charge super much like further. So it's going to come down into like using screening units and things like that to force your opponent's movement. It's going to be very much one with positioning instead of it just being like, oh, I can stand behind this wall and force you to have to make the decision. I think melee versus melee, this is a very tactical, difficult map just because of the nature of the weight, the shape of these big staging points in the middle. But yeah.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree, and I think what we're really seeing, and it's something that we in Black Crow have been discussing for a long time. Infiltrate is becoming even more important.
It's just needed.
Yeah, yeah, it's just you just need at least one unit with infiltrate, ideally two, but yeah, really, and that needs to be a unit that you don't mind tossing away. So obviously Space Marines as scouts. But yeah, there's a plethora of really solid units, and I'll be interested to see Inquisitorial agents with what they've got, because they've got some interesting infiltrating units already.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think
I mean, yeah. Sorry. Go on.
No, I was just going to say I'm very interested to see what happens when people go, okay, I can put a Rogue Trader entourage with this unit. Then I've got both infiltrate on a squad that was not meant to have infiltrate, and also I've got redeploys. So I think there's some really interesting play there. Part of me does actually really like. I need to check the exact wording of Smoke and Mirrors because part of me is like, if I deploy my Hellblasters on the furthest point forward against some armies, and then get them so that they're just covering their safe objective, what do they do?
Which is in, so can you redeploy your Hellblasters? Is what you mean? Like, or
No. I mean, sorry. I mean, if I aggressively deploy, sorry, I moved on very quickly from Road Trader Entourage thought, then procced another thought in my brain. It was, if we put the say, I'm going to use the Hellblasters as an example here, big blob of Hellblasters, right there on that aggressive point. See how your opponent deploys. If you don't think that they're going to be able to menace them much at all, you get a nasty Overwatch before they get the chance to do that, etc., etc. Is that actually just worth going? Cool, they're going to be here. When I do get my turn, the majority of this unit, or at least or the full unit, are going to move on to and cover that objective that you have hidden behind an L. Therefore, forcing you, if you want to get that hold 2, to either try and come at my safe objective, which I'll have combat units behind, or try and battle me over the middle.
you don't need to hold 2, and that's so like.
No, but
Yeah.
if you're not holding 2, I'm holding more.
Yeah. Oh,
Because
definitely. Yeah. You should be holding
I'm
at least 2.
definitely holding 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that'd be an
So
interesting strategy.
that's
It just depends on what you're against, right? Like how much people can deal with Hellblasters, right? If you put your Hellblasters on the line there, I'm throwing 8-bound on the line, you know.
Oh
And
yeah,
it's
100%.
it's a thing of like, well, we'll see. But I think it's probably an interesting strategy that it's like assuming the maths works out with smoke and mirrors, that you can just go, oh, that you've put enough over there that worries me. Oh, they're now over here. And vice versa, because that's the
Yeah.
other thing. If you'd have to look at when the decision has to be made. Be interesting to have a situation where you go, oh, I don't put quite enough there, and you're like, we'll stick around, but then I'm like, well, now my other unit's over here, and that would, I don't. So I'd have to look at the wording of smoke and mirrors and how it works, and but yeah, there is probably some shenanigans in there, but like I say, most of the time, I think it's probably quite predictable.
Yeah. No, I do. I think, and the wording of Smoke and Mirrors is probably going to crap on our niche case examples there, because usually these things are sensibly balanced,
Yeah.
so that you can't go, oh, I've got 10 Hellblasters here. Go on, you deploy around them,
How
and
many
then
points are 10 Hellblasters anyway?
they
With the
are.
character.
Oh, with the
Well, because
characters,
that's what
quite a
you would
lot.
be moving, right?
Yeah, exactly. So they are 230 for just the dudes. 90.
Oh, it's less than 500 then.
Yeah, it's less than
But you should be
500 for the
fine.
full unit.
I think it has to be. It's either 250 or less than 500. So I can't remember which one it is.
Yeah,
But I
it's
think
not
it's
less than
500.
250. But yeah, so solid, interesting mission. Should we go on to the next one?
Yeah, let's go to number 3. But yeah, Crucible is a classic deployment as well. So let's see
Yeah.
if that sticks around. Taking on another classic deployment, we have Search
Ah,
and Destroy.
good. So this was mission 2, and what they had for Sheffield for this mission was supply drop on swooping engagement on the
Yeah.
same map as round 1.
I had a quick look. There is 0 supply drop in this rules pack, and
Yeah.
thank God they finally listened. So,
Yeah,
like, supply
I
drop
think
has been horrendous in my opinion. Like for the whole, like it's just not. It's just got so much feels bad in there, especially if you do it on a. I mean, thankfully on like Search and Destroy, there's no favorable objective for one person, but there's a little bit sometimes. But generally, they're all about the same distance away from of where you want. It's just the terrain part, like who's got the safer spot to stand on the objective. But it is insanely annoying when your opponent leans their army one way and then it goes that way for them, or vice versa, and it's just like it just feels bad.
No, totally. And I mean, the first thing that I said to Toby, who was one of the refs, he wasn't actually at the 40k side at Sheffield, was, hey, why supply drop to go 3-0?
Yeah.
And
I mean, before it was the first round, which made it a little bit more forgiving. No, it was Oxford was
taking
round.
hold on Dawn of War round one. No, it was round 2 because it's when I fought that Squigoth.
It was round 2. It was round 2. Yeah. Okay. Still, like it's. I'm so glad that it's just not there. Like I don't. It doesn't matter
Agreed.
what mission it is. It still has the same feels bad moments. It just means
100%.
that potentially, you have a potentially nicer pairing for you, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's a good pairing for the. But it's just bad experiences all around. I think taking hold with hidden supplies seems extra. Like effectively, this allows for two people to max primary quite easily. I think if you just I'll play my half of the board, you play your. I'm not saying people are going to do that, and generally it doesn't work that way. But there is situations where if you're fighting over the middle, you're both scoring 10 or 15 every round. So I'm not a huge fan of hidden supplies for taking hold. I think it just makes it a little bit too easy to score. But those two in the middle are very close to each other. So and they're very open on this as well. There's literally basic, these things don't obscure you when you're in them. So you have to be like on the edge, and then how easy is it to move around these pieces of terrain? Like they aren't obscuring much. This is a very open middle of the board, which I think is good because it balances that shooting. Because we have once again very good staging towards just out on the edge of the deployment zone to move into huge areas of the board. And I think that every objective here has a multiple decent charging spots from places to stage for those objectives, but you can't hold the objectives from those staging points.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. I mean, I managed. So I have played this one because it was round 2 at Sheffield, and it's brilliant. Really great in terms of like the sight lines. There's enough, but in terms of if you want to be hidden and like there's ways that you can hide and hold objectives, you can get really close to your opponent's deployment zone and still be completely hidden. It's really good. It was fascinating just to kind of work out how to hold certain areas, and then when you do want to risk it for a chocolate biscuit and run across to get that again safe objective in that top corner for you, or the top corner away from you, that has some really rough sight lines. If your opponent has like some hammerheads or some tyrannofexes, and my opponent did have tyrannofexes and exocrines just sort of sitting there waiting, when you try and go for that run, there is very little to stop them, and it's a decent distance that you've got to cover. I had to do it with advanced charge after jumping out of transport and jump pack intercessors doing it. So and scouts that had infiltrated, but.
So actually, I believe I'm midway through the game on or at least this terrain. I can't remember if it's this mission, but I'm running, spawn up across here, and it just doesn't quite make it. But the advantage of yes, you're massively out in the open, but they have to come forward to get that sightline. They have to come out of their deployment zone to get the sightline. Because if they sit back in their deployment zone, there is nowhere in their deployment zone that's seeing that except for like this front corner. And at the same time, that is right opposite your staging point. So it is almost like yes, you can see me, but you're setting me up for a nice charge straight after.
But that staging point behind that small building is actually it's very difficult to get to easily without exposing yourself to fire from behind their medium L, and then exposing yourself to counter charges and things like that, because you're unlikely to go from behind your small L to that medium. Sorry, to that
from
cardboard terrain.
here to what?
Yeah.
Here.
No, from there to behind that little bit
Over
of terrain,
here.
and then make the charge. Yeah, I mean,
Oh
like,
yeah, that's not happening. That's not
maybe for World Eaters, it's a bit more possible, but for
only if they don't put
Marines,
1 inch. You know, they don't block the going through the wall. Like if
Yeah.
they're blocking the going through the wall, it's so far to get around those
I
walls.
mean, I even mean in that front bit of the deployment zone, I had
Here?
trouble getting.
Oh,
Yeah.
World Eaters again. They're easy.
World Eaters, absolutely, but it's a lot more difficult for armies that aren't going base 9 inches plus advance and charge.
Yeah, like 17 inches is an
Yeah.
easy number to hit in
Exactly.
15 inches is an easy number to hit in World Eaters.
Exactly. That's very, and that's very different to most other experiences. But it's something to bear in mind, because there are armies that can do it, and I doubt World Eaters are the only ones. There's probably some others.
I mean, if you think about your jump infantry with an advanced
Oh, yeah.
charge, so we're talking like Death Company, Blood Angels, and Gladius, like very, very average distance for them to go before charging.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. There's lots of different ways. So yeah, there is, and like, I think the amount of conversation that we're having about what is quite a small feature, which led to more conversation about lots more decisions, is a good sign of an interesting mission, because it's demanding so much thought, so much pre-planning. But you've still got the same amount of time. Like, you've got to get these things done, and you've got to get those onto those objectives. Again, you can hold the what is the safe objective from behind the wall, but
yeah,
but there's
one or two
very
models.
much
exactly.
So but sometimes that's all you need, right? I think I managed to get like 6 OC on there quite easily with 2 OC models. And that's and my opponent then has to go, right, well, I have to run the gauntlet across there.
For me, that is like, I have to kill that unit because I'm not out of seeing it, unless I'm sending berserkers, but then they're just going to be out in the open and get obliterated.
Well, exactly. And then my Hellblasters pop out, they go, or, X thing that has lots of shots at 2 damage pops out and goes. So yeah, no, I think that's really interesting mission that demands a lot of attention. I had a really interesting one in this mission where I had I'd gone for an aggressive move turn 1, and then gone up and round that corner at the top of the map for me. So if I'm down in the bottom here, I've gone up to the top of the map with my scouts and a couple of other units. And I had the scouts then move up so that they were right behind my opponent's small L here, but obscured from any of their shooting, because there were lots of big Tyranid monsters that couldn't get that far. And then what I did was I rapid ingressed the Lion in front of their small L, but within 3 inches of my guys and 12.1 inches away from any of their nasty guns. And I was like, well, now you have the Lion who's charging your home objective next turn.
Ouch.
Yeah. Unfortunately, then I whiffed with him and he failed to kill a Tyrannofex.
And that's why he's not on your list anymore.
And that is he's not on the list anymore because he's not consistent enough, bless him. But like he whiffed every single game that he played at Sheffield. But I did like the fear factor that he did.
Yeah.
He also rolled double 1s to save against the Maleceptor.
I mean, that's fate. Like you have a 3-up invuln, you have to fail it. Like, I mean,
oh, that was on my 2-up.
You have a 2-up?
That was on my 2-up.
Oh, and 2-up normal save.
2-up normal save, yeah. 2-up normal save, and Armor of Contempted, so he was still on his 2-up. Rolled double 1.
I was gonna say, when I played against Jack's Orcs the other weekend, and is it Makini or something like that?
Mankini.
I said Makini, not Mankini. Yeah. But
I'm not transphobic. Oh.
Moving swiftly on from that, it's 2-up invuln, but fate is you always fail the first one.
Oh yeah,
and he did. It was unfortunate for him.
And you can't reroll that one,
which is reasonable. Like, could you imagine?
Yeah, you can, because bloody Drukhari can.
Can they?
Yeah, they can reroll it disappears after they failed it the first time, but they can reroll it. Yeah.
Oh.
At least I think they can. I don't know. I'm gonna have to check now.
Yeah.
I'm
I don't
gonna,
think any two of Invuln could be rerolled, but I might be wrong.
I mean, Archons are famously silly, aren't they?
Yes, yes.
Archon.
But I think
Archon. Oh no! I'm telling a lie. You can't reroll.
Shocking that I know the rules better than Toby.
I know who'd have thought. That's only because I've had people re-roll that against me before.
Well,
so, naughty.
What do we learn? Read the rules.
Reading is hard. Also,
Right.
I only knew the Macari rule because someone told me before I played the Orcs player where I had to know it, and they rolled a 1 immediately on the first roll. But
like I say, it always happens.
Roll it. Yeah, but they went to re-roll it, and I had to be like, really sorry, but you can't.
Yeah.
And I had to get them to go and get it out on their app and go, yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But yeah, right. Let's go next mission.
Yes. So what I love about this is when they repeat deployment zones, they do it overnight, so all of the terrain gets moved and no one can keep it where it is. This is a very common theme for their rule packs where they go, "Oh, we'll do the same terrain, same like well, this is slightly different terrain to be fair, but the same setup and before was the same terrain, and yeah, actually this is the mission that I'm currently in the middle of a game with, but yeah, it's overnight, so pretty much everyone's going to be packing away their armies, so all the terrain gets pushed around. Yeah, I have no idea. Like Burden of Trust, I think is I really like the new missions, new rules pack. I think they really do add a new dimension to the play. Burden of Trust is an interesting one. Because I believe you can't score your home field, but you do defend it. But I can't remember. I should have really looked up these before we started, but
we probably should have.
Yeah.
In all honesty, I wasn't expecting this, and now we're at the point where I got food poisoning at Sheffield. So now I have no idea. But this mission, okay, interesting. Same good deployment that we discussed. So let's not dwell on it too much.
Yeah. The only difference is these bits in the middle are rotated slightly, which makes them easier to hide behind. But now they're not on objectives. So
they are indeed rotatos.
Yeah.
But there's only central objective is still very much in the open.
It's completely in the open now.
I think this is slightly better for staging overall.
Yeah, because like I said, these are more hideable spots. So you have to come further around to get sights on them. But yeah, completely out in the open objectives, so balances that for shooting, in my opinion. And Burden of Trust is all about staying on objectives, and I feel like that's just not a thing you can do easily on this mission. Prepared for, positions, is that the one where you get to bring a battle line unit on in the first round?
I think they get something. I honestly can't remember what.
Screw it, I'm looking it up.
Yeah, because that's going to. It is something to do with battle line. I think it might be where they get like a free go to ground or something like that. I might have made that up entirely.
No, there is something about that. I just don't. Prepare positions. Players can target battle line units with the go to ground and heroic stratagems for 0 CP. Cannot do this if they have already used that stratagem on a different unit that turn.
Holy crap!
0 CP heroic, melee versus melee. This is insane. Like that is just you're having heroics every round. Like you're just doing it. Like there's unless.
Shite for me because my units aren't battle line.
Oh yeah, it's only battle line. Yeah. All right, berserkers go ham.
Oh yeah. Your fights versus berserkers. Drakari's fights versus.
I mean, I'm always using 1 CP for those, and so are they. It just means I get an extra CP in those situations. Yeah. It's not a huge deal. Battle line, getting my jackals to go to ground for free is pretty nice against those shooting lists. Get that 6-up invuln. That's pretty nice. 6-up invuln with a 5-up fin of pain. That stacks up quite well. But yeah, that's Not
That's
as
scary running into
impactful as I was
targets.
thinking it would be. Smoke and mirrors, by the way, 500 points. That went and checked.
Yeah, no, I think that's so. Yeah, prepared positions. I think we are seeing a bit more relevancy of battle line in UKTC missions, which I think is good. What I would say is that does favour certain armies with smaller rosters. You're looking at your Death Guards, you're looking at your World Eaters. Potentially,
I would say Chaos Knights are the biggest winners.
yeah. To be fair, I was just picking the
Oh,
armies that had really disgusting fights first units to
oh,
kick off.
I was just you were talking about battle line things in general. Yeah, this specific one, yeah,
So
the
they are battle line with fights first.
yes,
Very, very. I mean, they've always got it right. Like you're not leaving home without it. So I think that's especially when, as we've already discussed, the meta is MSU combat. That's very good for your chaos factions.
so
Which is good. Which is good because let's be honest, chaos factions have not had the most love. Over apart from that period where we had the very silly accursed cultists.
just I mean,
List.
yeah, just CSM that have had some
Yeah,
nice stuff where they got that quintuple nerf. But
yeah.
the so something that's been raised a little bit in the chat, but like yeah, Theo said that he played this today and only
Mm.
scored 8 points. I assume that means on primary because I was just looking at this. You only score 4 points and you only score them on the no man's land or objectives not in your deployment zone. So you could score your opponent's home, but that is, and then there's the guarding mechanic, which is an extra 2 VP, which includes your home objective, I believe. Yeah. So you can guard your home objective. So you can get 2 points for your home objective every turn as long as you just stay with 1 unit on it. And then the rest is like, well, you've got to guard it as well as, but you're only really scoring 4 VP when you do have it, or you'll get 6 if you successfully guard it. But like, that's really hard to score high on primary on this. I think this is going to be a lot of low scoring games in round 4,
So I
close low
think
scoring games.
if anything is going to be one that gets changed, I think it is likely to be this one. I think this is our supply drop of the mission pack. So yeah, I completely see that, Theo. And I think if it's going to be lopsided, it's going to be very lopsided.
If you just roll over your opponent, then you're scoring big. But
yeah,
it's round 4. You're not rolling over people very easily. Usually, you're a lot closer skill matched when it comes to the second day.
Yeah, and I think that is true, but I also think that's going in singles. I think that's going to be unpleasant for them deciding the shadow round because like sometimes lower quality players do go 3-0 day one.
I've also
so
gone through day one.
Right, and we are and no, this is no disparity to ourselves.
Not going
We're
into the
not.
shadow round. Yeah,
No,
that's. I mean, I would love to. Don't get me wrong, and I'm trying to, but I have not done it yet, and I will be over the moon if I get a 4-0. So
yeah,
yeah.
we're not looking at we're not in the top 50 in the UK currently. It's just we'll use that as the metric. And that could then mean that certain players are going to have a nice buff to their score versus not versus others getting those very tight scores. And I'm like, yeah, sure, that's probably likely to happen on most missions, but I think this is going to be a particularly bad one for it.
It's going to be
great
harder
map.
to, and actually, also that makes secret missions even more impactful.
Oh yeah, very
If
true.
both sides are struggling to score 40 points, if one side, because it happened to be losing slightly early, if it's like 2-4 points behind at the end of round 3, and it can just go, well, how many points are you going to score in round 4 and 5? It's not going to. I'm going to score 20 and then keep scoring the primary that was there. If you're going second, especially that round 5 can be quite an easy score. There's 3 easily held no man's land objectives if you're going second, potentially. So it's because you can't hide a large amount of OC behind them. So you just run your army out. You wait, you run your army out, and there's a 20-something primary. Like, it is slightly worrying, I guess, on that side of things as well. We might end up in situations where people are like, "Oh, I'm purposefully not going to quite," if you're going first, you're going to purposefully drop like a couple of points here or there on primary to stop your opponent being able to get the secret mission, which is not the way anyone wants to play the game. But yeah.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I think of the ones that we've looked at, I think probably the primary is maybe not quite the mission that I would pick. But interesting one to test out. Not played it myself, so I can't pass immediate judgment. But yeah, that is the one that I'm less thrilled about, and the fact that it's round 4, I'm just like, oh, okay.
I don't think it's a bad one for me necessarily, but because if I can put
Yeah,
that
because you got
pressure on,
prepared positions.
wow, I mean that helps, but that only really helps in certain, my 2 jackal units, and then if we're in a melee off, I will get 1 extra CP than I would normally probably, or
Yeah.
2 if I get the second heroic. Which, let's be honest, if my opponent's allowing my berserkers to heroic twice, they've probably made a mistake.
Yeah, true.
The interesting thing is, like, if they try and charge past the jackals, and then the jackals go and tag a bunch of the unit they didn't quite make the full charge, that could be an interesting situation. But yeah, in general, I don't think it will change the game too much, but could be quite nice for some armies in certain situations, though.
Yeah, I think for the Death Guard armies that I mean, they do have the Tallyman to get extra CP, but no one is currently running it. So to have something that will give them that extra CP, I do like. Okay, let's have a look at round 5. We can tell it's nearly 10 o'clock because I've started yawning.
What do you mean started yawning? You've been yawning for the whole thing.
I
Yeah,
know
had a long
what
Monday there at work.
I did actually. Thank you very much. We've seen this before.
So, I actually have started to really enjoy those hidden supplies, Scorched Earth. I think it feels quite nice because you're burning objectives to have those extra objectives. I think having, Inspired Leadership is just a nice little thing there. It doesn't overly change the game, but it's just a nice little touch as a mission. I think it's basically the equivalent of like Chilling Reign. It feels like, it doesn't really change the game, but every now and again you'll roll a battle shock and be like, "Oh, Inspired Leadership."
To be fair, Battleshot could have been super relevant in our game on Scorched Earth and Inspired Leadership. We weren't doing this map, but it was
We didn't
actually
play
kind of very
Scorched
similar to
Earth.
this, wasn't it? Oh no, we did Purge, didn't we? Sorry. But equally, Inspired Leadership could have been very relevant there, because there was that question of like, I know that you have that ability to lock me in combat if I fail a leadership test. Do I
Does it
want my
work for
warlord?
just Battle Shocks, or does it work for all leadership?
Ooh, good question.
But yes, that is a common strategy of mine.
Bullshit world each player. I mean,
Yep,
sorry, what? Who said
takes
that?
Battle Shock test, so it doesn't work. It doesn't help you against it. Oh, it ain't bound because it says Battle Shock
Okay,
test. It's just
okay,
+1.
that's a shame. Because that would have been cool.
Yes, that would have had an impact in my game certainly. But once again, your warlord has to be out of your deployment zone.
Well, that's what I was coming on to. It was because my warlord in that game spent, I think, the entire game basically in my deployment zone. So there would have been that argument of like, do I need to get him out just so that I can do that, and sort of threaten a little bit better on the leadership. But is leadership 5 versus leadership 6 worth it? But obviously, unfortunately, we've just seen that that's not relevant, which I'm very sad about.
Yeah.
But it's that same deployment again.
Yeah,
I like it.
burning on this is really quite interesting because the only safe objective to burn on is your one that behind this L, and even then, it's not that safe. You have to
What I want to
burn
do, Sam?
near the center. What?
I want to go second.
I'll be honest, I find going second just generally unanimously better in 10th edition. And that's coming from a World Eater player that everyone thinks we just go first and unga bunga charge at the opponent every round 1.
You do.
See? Proof.
Like that is exactly what you do. You went unga bunga and charged my scouts, and then my heroic scout held the line like a brave boy.
It's the foe. One scout left alive on one. So
We love
ignoring
scouts.
that travesty, but the one of the bigger benefits of Scorched Earth in Orion Nexus in comparison to Leviathan is you can burn round 5. So it is much more now. You don't need to burn one in the middle. You can just push for that late game and just go onto your opponent's objective round 5 and burn it.
Yeah, I mean, I when I played Corbin on this one, I think I went. Did I go first? I can't remember. No, I think he went first. But I ended up winning the top kind of flank area, and then going on and burning his home objective in the last turn. And I don't think it would have hugely mattered, but like it definitely gave me more options. And I really like Scorched Earth at the moment.
Yeah, it's
I'm a
interesting
fan.
because the like a strategy that you could potentially do, although I really like this middle bit, is you could effectively just hold up a decent amount that holds your home, slam most of your army over the top, hold 2 for the majority of the game, and then sort of towards the end of the game just unga bunga onto the opponent's home and just go for and you can max primary just by only ever being on those 3 objectives. And only that you need to take the opponent's home right at the end of the game. Which is an interesting one. It means that you could play a little bit more defensive with these shooting lists and go, well, I'll just hold my 2 safe ones and I'll get 40 points, and then I'll go for that. Once I've killed enough of your stuff, I'll then go for your home towards the end.
Yeah. And the home objective is exposed at the front, so there's definitely easier way. I'm not sure in terms of what position you're going to need to be to get that exact inch away from the center,
I
but
imagine you'll have to be on the other side of this wall.
yeah,
By the
you
looks
might
of it.
have to be. But you can potentially nick your opponent's home objective in a hold one, in a hold 1, hold 2. Not the last time I played, but when I was playing a hold 1, hold 2 mission, I was surprised the amount of time that it came up that I was pushing my opponent off of the second objective they were trying to hold in no man's, and just so that they only got 5 on primary.
Yep, that's the pressure combat way.
Yeah. So that was an interesting dynamic. So I might be saying things that sound like, yeah, no shit, Toby.
I didn't mean it that way.
But
Sorry if I came
no,
across
no, no,
that
no,
way.
no, no.
I
That's
was
that's
just
fine. I'm just saying that because it absolutely probably will happen at some point because I am still very new to combat. But sorry, I'm the combat veteran here. Very skilled at melee. I
but
know it
Toby's
entirely.
the melee pro.
No, I'm doing it again this weekend, so we'll find out how that goes. But
Cliff.
I hope so. But oh yeah, I can also enjoy the fact that I'm now ranked 69th.
Yeah, I was gonna say you're not allowed to get any. You have to. The only time you can start getting any more points is if somebody hops above you. You're gonna have to try and
I
wrangle that so you finish there at the end of the season.
I do love the fact I'm breathing down Luke's neck. Because mainly because I love Luke to pieces. And Luke is a better player than me, hands down. But it would be very funny if I finished above him. Purely so that I could have a bit of a laugh with him about it. But he is definitely hands down, and I'm saying this recorded, the better player out of the two of us.
Shush! Deleting the recording right now. None of
No,
this.
no, it's true, 100% true. But yes, so that is why I've made a rather funny meme in our little BCG community for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've done the missions, right?
Yeah.
So
Should we
I'm
talk a
trying to.
bit about what it's like to go to, what our tips for,
Hmm.
going to one of these events for people that have never been, if they've gone through as yabbering on about all of the, um, the
How to
missions
play it.
and how the way we would play them or the way we look at them. Now they can get the actual tips of what will actually help them.
Yeah.
So my go-to is always try and remember to sit down, because you know, when you get the chance, sit down. You'll thank yourself later when your legs ache less, because they will ache. It is a surprisingly physical day being stood around a table the whole day, as ridiculous as that sounds. Water, keep drinking. Your throat will get hoarse because of all the shouting, because you're in a big room full of loads of people. To be able to have a good conversation with your opponent about the game usually requires a good amount of loud talking, let's say. Yeah.
Talking and gesticulating.
Yes. um, so those are my two big ones. The third one being food. So UKTC, the majority of their events have these food trucks, and they're great. I really like them, especially the jerk
So
chicken
good.
one. Fantastic.
Oh.
Go. Finish your game, go out, get food. Like, try not to, if you finish your game early, go and get the food early, because there will be queues, especially as we get to the end of the round. But you usually have enough time, even if there is queues. I finished a game slightly late because I had a partner change at one point and opponent change, and we still managed to get in the queue, get food, and is usually a good amount of food trucks. They have been let down in the past before by a food truck not turning up that was said they would turn up. So that can cause issues. They'll usually let you know about that so that you can plan stuff. But before you go to an event, I would look to make sure that they say they're going to have like food trucks and things, because sometimes, like Nottingham in January of this year, didn't have any food trucks and just had like this little cafe that didn't really work, didn't really have food, and so planning ahead in that case, bring like meal deals or whatever from the supermarket, or plan out like, oh, we can walk to this like chippy that's down the road or something like that. So planning food is definitely a good idea in advance. Like, look into it. For LGT, they to food trucks.
I'm excited for that for LGC, because obviously, unfortunately, if anyone that knows me, they will know that my Sheffield story ended abruptly with the world falling out of my arse. So it was rather unfortunate there, where the venue had forced UKTC to use their food provisions. I think they provided maybe cat, maybe radioactive rat meat. There was a couple of options, I think, but it was not good, and it did make several people unwell. I think the fact it was an England game on the next day hastened people feeling unwell as well.
Maybe
But
we'll feel less bothered when they decided
yeah,
they were going home. But I think
yeah,
that was one of the higher drop rate events that
it
we've
was,
seen
including
for
someone that made the
UKTC.
shadow round.
Well, I mean,
They did it for the football, but
I was gonna say that can happen all the time. Like, there'll be people that at the end of LGT might make the shadow round and will just go, "No, I'm good." Like, I just need to travel to get home. End of Sunday, you're not necessarily. There is plenty of us that are not expecting the shadow round, so don't plan for the shadow round, so can't stay for the shadow round. I mean,
yeah, have that.
surprisingly, quite often I end up staying. Like, I'll book Monday off and stay an extra night at a hotel, so I have to drive home because I'm just always quite tired. But that is me, and I'm not doing it because I think I'm going to be in the shadow round. I'm doing it so I can just have a nice, relaxing evening and morning.
I think I infamously did say before Glasshammer, when Darren and I were testing, he said, "Oh, should we do round 6?" And I went, "Don't be silly. We're never going to make round 6." And of course, Darren made round 6.
And then you had to stay because you were getting left with him. And I was there because I had a hotel that night.
Yeah. And unfortunately, meant that I missed seeing my parents on my birthday. So it was one of
That's
those.
Darren's
But
fault, not mine.
oh goodness me, no, it was no one's fault. It was
I know. It was great to support
phenomenal.
him.
I mean,
In that was great fun. And there was
it
the
was
England game
actually,
on at that time as well. That was very funny.
yeah, chilling with Dan and Manny, and actually that's going to segue us nicely. But chilling with Dan and Manny, when they were sort of just packing up, just sort of
We
chatting
helped a
away.
little bit. You helped more than I did.
Well, I mean, again, there are sponsors, which I'm sure we'll come on to later. But you help out your mates, right? Like, it's no skin off my nose to go and carry a few bits of terrain to to a van, and it helps out your mates, so you do it. Like it's just one of those things
And
that
they ran a good tournament, so help them
phenomenal,
out. So
fucking amazing. Absolutely love that tournament. There is another one coming up. We will be talking about it shortly on the podcast with Manny. We're recording that on Thursday, so be ready for
will
that to come
be
out.
this time next week when the general audience sees it, or are we releasing it early?
We can't reveal the mysteries of YouTube.
Stay tuned, and you'll see. Follow
Stay
our
tuned
Instagram, our Facebook,
on new
and
Instagram,
our new
Black.Crow
Instagram.
Gaming.
And you will get updates about when you will be able to see us two lovely people interviewing Manny, the current
Even
world
lovelier
champion.
human being and current man that gave me a kiss on my birthday. So yeah, he fills that very special hole in my heart. So
Everyone else was running away.
oh yeah, everyone else was running. I got him sitting down and went like that. So he did give me a little smoochy on the cheek. But I'm safe to say that because I know he's not watching because he's going to Belgium tomorrow at 5 a.m.
This is where you find out he's watching. It's like, what? Go to bed.
But yeah, so segues this really nicely because you will meet so many incredible people. Like, I mean, I'm gonna list off a few people. I'm definitely gonna miss people out here, just because of the sheer number that I've got to meet. But all the Dead Red guys, amazing dudes, so much fun. Great to just spend time with the Redacted guys. Incredible group of people that are always up for a good laugh. Vanguard Tactics, obviously, they are doing their push for their lovely new studio as well, their MVP campaign. So do go check that out if that is something you're interested in. And also just an absolute laugh. Jake gives phenomenal hugs. He fits into my chest very well, so it's quite adorable.
You're gonna have to get a tier
and
list
you
of
get,
Toby's interaction with other players.
I think
Kiss, hug, stroke of the bum.
kiss, hug, stroke of the bum. What else have we had? Offer of a headbutt, offer of a fist fight.
But
The
never
only person.
serious.
Oh God, no! I offered it to
Just
Steve.
to clarify, we're not talking about people who are actually awful. They're rare
No.
tournaments. I've actually find it's interesting. The bigger the event, I feel like the rarer those people are. The ones that you don't want to meet. Like
100%.
So if you're worried about going to a big event because you're on the more casual side of things, just come. You'll find that there are more people there like you than you expect. Like it's
100%.
a lot of people just going there to have a weekend of. Like,
and
yes, there's people that care about winning it at the top, but we don't care about that. We're here to go and have 5 great games.
exactly, and those I've always found those people that like when they do because a lot of the time they're going to know when they've won. You Josh Roberts, you Vix, just to name the people that have beaten me very comfortably. Those guys know when they've won, and they will still make that game enjoyable. And it's a sign that even if you are getting your bum handed to you, you're still going to have a good laugh. And like I wouldn't, particularly my game against Josh Roberts, I wouldn't change because it was such a good and pleasant interaction just to get to play the guy. So yeah, even in those situations, if you go, okay, I'm probably going to go 5 here. A, you probably won't. But B, like it's absolutely fine taking those losses because it's still a good laugh, and like the guys that you'll go against are so wonderful. So yeah, go for it. And I definitely agree that the scenarios of that guy, I have only ever really seen it at the local level, rather than at UKTC level. So, and I think that is partly because there's more referees walking around, so people just know they can't try it. But also in a room of 200 to 500 people, news travels fast. So I think the one incident where I've seen someone behaving that guy is no longer part of the community because they people just I don't want to play that individual. the community is very good at self-regulating, and news travels fast. So if someone is behaving in a way that's unbecoming to the game or unsportsmanly, it gets nipped in the bud quite quickly, either by someone saying, "Come on, lad," or the community going, "No, thank you, goodbye." So yeah, no, definitely, and quick shout out to Zach, who obviously runs UKTC, and the team that he has. They are very professional, very sort of well drilled. Even when venues can make things difficult, like Sheffield as an example, they still will try and provide the best possible experience. Particularly the guys that I feel absolutely terrible for not knowing her name, but there is a lady that is always working the drinks and the food, and she is phenomenal, always smiling, always asking how your game goes, always having a bit of a laugh as well. Just genuinely really, really nice human being. I believe it's Paul, the ref's partner, but unfortunately, yeah, just
I
haven't
think
asked
so.
her name.
Yeah.
But yeah, phenomenal individual, and also Paul, the ref, absolutely amazing bloke. What a good laugh. Really, really like him. And yeah, you everyone at UKTC is just bloody brilliant. So
And they
a
really
lot.
do encourage feedback. If you go to the event and we saw on that draft page that it mentioned,
Mm,
please, come give us feedback. Like
yeah.
it is, they are wanting to improve all the time. If there's an issue, they want to address it, or at least that's what it comes across as. So I do really hope that if you go, give them the feedback. Like let them know what you
Mm.
thought was good, what was bad. Hopefully not too bad, and yeah, give them feedback. Even if it's just like, oh, can you do one over in this area of the country? Like if enough people say that, then they might look into it, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a classic people pleaser, so if I have negative feedback, 99.9% of the time, I won't give it.
I say
Just
it
because,
straight to their faces.
well, yeah, but yeah, that's just not me. I don't feel comfortable doing it. When I had issues at Sheffield related to the venue in terms of the way that the sort of we'd been packed in quite a lot. And because of that, then there was resulting smells. Please wear deodorant if you go to a tournament.
Oh yeah, we
And
forgot that in the other list. Always
yeah,
take deodorant.
deodorant. Deodorant, headache tablets, they're important.
Water stops
So
the headache from happening.
water as well. I just think so fucking hard, and my brain cells just so tiny like that, and it's bouncing one end to the other the whole time. It gives me a headache. But yeah, but I felt comfortable when UKTC did ask for feedback to go, actually, guys, that these are the problems I have. I love what you do. However, this was a bit of a pain in the backside for me. And it's very rare that I feel comfortable giving that kind of feedback. So, like the fact that you do feel able to do that, really, really good. So UKTC, next one is Leeds. The one after will be LGT.
London.
We
So
will
I mean,
be at
yeah,
LGT.
please come say, if you've seen this, come say hi.
Yeah,
LGT, I'll be there. Um, dressed like this one of the days, and then dressed in the other Black Crow shirt the other day. So if you see
yeah,
any Black Crows, just come say
exactly.
hi. We'll be friendly.
Yeah, yeah. There's loads of them, and to be fair, if they weren't friendly, I'd want to fucking know about that.
Yeah.
So but I know for a fact they will be. So yeah, please come and say hi. We love interacting with people, and people that enjoy our content. One of my favorite things recently has been, yeah, you can see all the guys there.
All the friendly faces.
Yeah, one of my favorite things recently has been the sort of how many people have interacted recently with my Dark Angels podcast, which is Thursday. Quick self plug there, apologies. But yeah, going live on Thursday. Lions Den. What's that?
On top of that, on Wednesday, a World Eater video is being released,
Oh, cool.
made by me. So,
Nice.
which is just running through all of the important, because I ignored some of the not good ones, data sheets in the list, and then explaining the reasons why I like them, reasons why I don't like them, and then I will be expanding on that and going into deep dive into very specific like charging tactics and staging and deployment and things like that in future videos. So keep an
And
eye
I
out for that.
feel like we're going to have to. I'm going to suggest the name the Butcher Rails.
Well, we don't have a name for it yet, so that's technically
We
the
do
first
now.
name we've got, but I'm not calling it that.
You absolutely are calling it the but I will log on to the YouTube and change the name to the
Oh,
Butcher
God.
Rails. So just say I will only produce you a thumbnail that says the Butcher Rails.
I guess I'll learn how to make a
Yeah, you enjoy that. I mean, it's Canva; it's really easy.
yeah.
But yes, that will be really great. Before we go, so like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon.
Please.
This time last week we were saying, come on guys, get us to 800. We are, last time I checked, 7 people away from 900 already.
No way, really? I thought it was still in
Yeah.
the 700s. I'm clearly very
No,
observant.
we are 893, I think, last time.
894.
Yeah. Okay. So we picked up another subscriber.
Hopefully we picked up
So
one tonight.
894. So yeah, you know, we're starting to get that traction. Tell your friends. Let's keep it going. We're going to try and keep producing content that you guys are enjoying. Try and get that good stuff out there that people
Comment
are interested
content you
in
want
seeing.
to see.
Yeah, 100%. Tell us what you want. We've got more guys behind the scenes saying, yeah, I want to get out there. I want to deliver on that content. So come out and grab us and tell us what you want to see. Because ultimately we do this for you guys. Obviously, it's fun for us because we enjoy playing with toy soldiers. But we do this because we want to share our experiences and share what sort of makes the game good for us. In terms of also making the game good for us, you're going to need minis and you're going to need terrain. So, Glasshammer Gaming, they sponsor this wonderful podcast. We've got the wonderful Manny Chima, who is the big don of Glasshammer Gaming, coming on the podcast this week to record after Worlds has finished. So that's WTC, so that we can talk about his experience at Team England and also discuss the upcoming Wolves GT. If you are signing up to the Wolves GT, make sure you put in the code Black Crow at checkout. You get 5% off, and you get 5% off every other purchase you get. So well worth doing. Because Glasshammer is already pretty damn good value. And particularly that, like we've already talked about, Glasshammer GTs are mint. We had a brilliant time. I don't remember much because I was quite drunk, but it was quite entertaining.
It was a fantastic event.
Yeah, and if you're really lucky, Manny gives you a kiss as well. So
I wouldn't
we
hold
probably
out
shouldn't
for that
advertise that, but yeah,
No.
I get a kiss from Manny. So
I think after this, I don't think we're going to see that again.
No,
it was a special
will.
birthday present,
and that was a special birthday gift. And then, as we said, Terrain Forge is a wonderful producer of terrain. They do bespoke pieces in MDF, so really nice and durable. It can have your logo on, it can have our logo on if you like our stuff, and you can have it in multiple different sets. So you can have it WTC, you can have it in UKTC, like we've been discussing. There's also narrative versions if you prefer that kind of build. So there's lots of different options for you, and you can use the code BCG5 just to get that bit of extra discount.
Really good quality as well.
Yeah, we on the battle reports, which go live every Sunday, we have just got our WTC set all painted up and ready to go on there. So thank you, Simon, for doing that. So you'll be able to go and watch our guys down south playing on that set soon. So that's the WTC set that you'll see there, which has just been released. So yeah, check it out. Use our discount codes, and tell your friends if you've enjoyed the content. And if you didn't enjoy the content, I've been Aaron Drew.
And I'm Toby.
I kind of set myself up with that one. But yeah, so thank you so much for watching, everyone. We really, really appreciate it. We love having you here. We love getting to share this community with you. I've been Toby.
I've been Sam.
And we have been the Black Crow Gaming Podcast. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next week.
Thank you.